Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going to be tackling something pretty important to me, building financial resilience in the LGBT community. I know you've given us some super interesting sources highlighting all the challenges and opportunities, and I'm excited to really dig into it.
It's definitely an area with huge potential, and sometimes just understanding the situation is the first step towards, a better financial future.
Totally. So maybe we should start with a reality check. One thing that really jumped out at me was this stat. Over half of LGBT individuals say they're earning $50,000 or less per year. That's a pretty big difference from our heterosexual peers, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I think it shows a systemic issue that we really got to recognize. We're talking about higher healthcare costs,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to medications and things like gender-affirming care. When so much of your income has to go towards essential healthcare, it makes it that much harder to save and plan for the future.
Right. It's like this hurdle that folks outside the community don't even realize is there. And it's not just that, right? Access to joint bank accounts, even with things like marriage equality, has been a struggle for so many same-sex couples. It really makes you stop and think about the financial side of just trying to build a life together.
No doubt. And even with legal protections in place, discrimination is unfortunately still a reality. It affects everything: job opportunities, housing, even getting loans. All those things have a ripple effect on financial stability.
It's pretty clear that these systemic barriers need to be addressed. But while we're working towards those bigger changes, what are some practical steps folks can take right now to build their financial resilience, even with these challenges?
Well, I think one of the most important things is to actually understand your money. It might sound basic, but you'd be surprised how many people don't really know where their money is going. Luckily, there are tons of budgeting tools and apps out there that make it super easy. It's like having a personal financial assistant right in your pocket.
I am all about those apps. But you know me, I love a good spreadsheet. Whatever works, right? The main thing is that you're tracking your spending and figuring out where you might need to adjust. It's empowering to be in control of your finances, don't you think?
Oh, 100%. And once you have that clear picture, you can start setting those SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Let's say your dream is to buy a house. A SMART goal could be something like setting aside $100 each week for a year to put towards a down payment.
I love how SMART goals take those big, scary dreams and break them down into doable steps. It's like making a roadmap to your financial future. But you can't really talk about finances without talking about credit. It plays such a huge role in our lives.
It really does. And building and managing your credit wisely is so important, especially if you're starting with bad or no credit. There are strategies like secured credit cards and credit builder loans that can help you get things moving in the right direction. And don't forget about local credit unions and community development financial institutions. They can often be more flexible than traditional banks.
That's a great tip. I've heard they can be more understanding of individual situations, which can make all the difference. But sometimes credit can feel so confusing with all the terms and things that affect your score.
Yeah, it can seem complicated, but remember, knowledge is power. The more you understand about things like interest rates, loan terms, and how those credit scores work, the better decisions you'll be able to make. Don't be afraid to ask questions and do your research.
So true. It's all about taking charge and not letting all those financial terms scare you off. So we've talked about budgeting, goals, and credit, but what about navigating the workplace as an LGBT individual? Knowing your rights as an employee seems really important.
It absolutely is. You've got federal protections under the Civil Rights Act, which says you can't be discriminated against based on your sexual orientation or gender identity. But it's also a good idea to keep track of any instances of discrimination, just in case you need to take legal action.
That's a really good point. Being prepared and protecting yourself is crucial. And I know there are important pieces of legislation in the works, like the Equality Act and the Employment Non-Discrimination Act, that are trying to strengthen those protections even more, right?
Exactly. Those acts would extend anti-discrimination measures to housing, education, and credit, and they'd also cover smaller businesses. These are some big steps towards a more equitable future.
It's definitely encouraging to see things moving in the right direction. But as you said, there's still a lot of work to do. Speaking of complicated systems, healthcare costs are another area where it really pays to be informed. It sometimes feels like insurance terminology is a language of its own.
It can be, but understanding those terms like deductibles and out-of-pocket maximums is so important. Knowing your plan and what it covers, especially for things like gender-affirming care, is crucial for budgeting and making good decisions about your health.
Okay, this is where it gets tricky for me, those little details that can really trip you up, like the fact that some services might be covered before you meet your deductible, or the whole thing with prescription deductibles. It can be such a headache.
You're absolutely right. And it's important to remember that public benefits like Medicaid can be a real lifeline, especially with those financial disparities we talked about earlier. For folks living with HIV, there are Ryan White services offered through community organizations that can provide a lot of support.
It's amazing to see those safety nets and resources available, even though navigating them can be a little complicated.
Mm.
Any other strategies for managing those healthcare costs, which can sometimes be so high?
For sure. Don't forget about manufacturer coupons for prescription medications, especially if you're dealing with a chronic condition. And always ask about sliding scale fees at provider offices. They can make a big difference in affordability.
I love that tip. It's about being your own advocate and finding out what options are out there. This has been such an eye-opening conversation so far. But beyond what individuals can do, how can we think about building financial stability and resilience on a larger scale within the LGBT community?
That's a great question. And it brings us to the role of financial planners, especially those who focus on the needs of our community. They can offer both financial guidance and emotional support, helping individuals navigate those complex systems and make smart decisions for a more secure future.
Having a financial planner who gets it, who understands your unique challenges and goals, can be such a game changer. And I'm curious, how does generational wealth play into all of this, especially for LGBT individuals who might not be close to their families? It's traditionally been a way to achieve financial stability, but it's often more complicated for many in our community.
That's a really important point. While legal family structures often focus on biological ties, we can use the concept of chosen family. Things like wills and end-of-life privileges, along with mutual aid networks, can help us create and share wealth within our chosen communities.
I love that. Reframing the idea of generational wealth to include chosen families is so powerful. It's all about building those support systems and making sure that financial legacies can continue within those chosen families. It really speaks to the power of community and collective action.
Absolutely. And since we're talking about community, we can't forget about the role of mental health in building financial resilience. Financial stress can really take a toll, so seeking therapy and mental health support is so important for coping with those challenges. LGBT community centers and advocacy organizations are amazing resources for finding support groups and connecting with people who understand your experiences.
It's a powerful reminder that we're not in this alone. Connecting with others, sharing experiences, and finding strength in community can make a world of difference. And I imagine advocacy efforts play a key role in creating systemic change and supporting the community as a whole.
They do. Joining organizations like Fight for $15, getting involved in political advocacy, even forming or joining unions can create real change in the workplace. Participating in LGBT chambers of commerce can help foster economic empowerment within the community. Remember, we're stronger together.
It's so inspiring to see how individual action and collective power can work together to create a more financially secure and equitable future for the LGBT community. We've covered so much today, from personal financial principles to navigating those tricky systems like healthcare and employment and the power of community and advocacy. What are some key takeaways you hope our listeners are getting from all of this?
I hope they're walking away with more knowledge and feeling more empowered. Understanding their finances, knowing their rights, and being aware of the resources out there are essential steps towards building that financial resilience. And just as importantly, I hope they see the power of community and advocacy in creating a more just and equitable financial landscape for all of us.
That's a great way to put it. It's about combining practical knowledge with a sense of shared purpose and working together. And for those who might be feeling overwhelmed or even discouraged by the challenges we've talked about, what words of encouragement would you offer?
I'd say self-care and self-preservation are not selfish. They're acts of strength and resilience. Seeking support, connecting with your community, and celebrating our collective power are all important parts of this journey.
I love that. It's a good reminder that we're in this together.
And it's so important to remember there's always hope. Like even small steps taken regularly can lead to big changes. I love that focusing on what you can control and taking action no matter how small can really make a difference. We've talked a lot about external systems and resources, but I'm curious to explore the internal side of things a bit more. How can people develop a healthier and more empowered mindset about money, especially when they're facing financial challenges?
That's a great question. And honestly, it's something that's not talked about enough. Financial stress can have a huge impact on our mental and emotional well-being. We're talking anxiety, shame, even depression. It's so important to acknowledge those feelings and to reach out for support if you need it. Therapy can be incredibly helpful in dealing with those emotional challenges and developing coping mechanisms.
It's like that saying, you can't pour from an empty cup, right?
Hmm.
Taking care of your mental health is the foundation for making good financial decisions and building resilience.
Exactly. And those negative thoughts and beliefs about money that we often internalize, those aren't facts.
Hmm.
They're just learned patterns that we can challenge and change. It's so easy to get caught up in those negative spirals, especially when things aren't going well. What are some practical ways to shift those beliefs and cultivate a more positive money mindset?
One really powerful strategy is practicing self-compassion. Instead of beating yourself up for past mistakes, try treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would offer a friend.
I love that it's about recognizing that we're all human. We all make mistakes, and it's okay to not be perfect with our finances.
Absolutely. And another helpful technique is gratitude. Even when money is tight, taking time to appreciate what you do have can shift your perspective and create a feeling of abundance. Maybe it's being grateful for having a roof over your head, a supportive friend, or even just a delicious meal.
Those small moments of gratitude can really add up. It's like you're training your brain to focus on the good things, even when there are challenges. I imagine setting realistic expectations also plays a big part.
It definitely does. It's crucial to avoid comparing yourself to others and remember that everyone's financial journey is unique. Just focus on your own progress, celebrate those small wins, and remember that financial stability is a marathon, not a sprint.
That's such an important reminder. It's so easy to get caught in the comparison game, especially with social media these days. But it's really about defining success on your own terms and focusing on what truly matters to you.
You got it. And speaking of defining success, I think it's crucial for LGBT individuals to challenge those traditional narratives around wealth and success. Too often, those narratives are rooted in heteronormative and capitalist values that might not resonate with our actual experiences or priorities.
I love it. It's about taking back what success means and creating a vision of financial well-being that's authentic and fulfilling for each individual.
Exactly. It might mean prioritizing experiences over material possessions, valuing community and connection over individual achievement, or even aligning your financial goals with your social justice values.
It's about breaking free from those expectations and creating a financial path that reflects your true values and goals. I imagine that sense of purpose can be really motivating.
It can be incredibly motivating when your financial goals are aligned with your deeper values. It becomes more than just about money. It's about building a life that feels meaningful and true to yourself.
I'm curious, are there any specific strategies for aligning financial goals with social justice values within the LGBT community?
Oh, there are tons of possibilities. It could involve supporting LGBT-owned businesses, donating to organizations fighting for equality, or even investing in socially responsible funds that reflect your values.
It's like putting your money where your values are. I love the idea of using your finances to make a positive impact and support causes you believe in.
It's a win-win. You're working towards your own financial goals while also making the world a more just and equitable place.
This conversation has been so inspiring. We've looked at the financial landscape for the LGBT community from so many different angles, the systemic barriers, practical strategies, and the power of mindset and community. What's one final thought you want to leave our listeners with, something that might spark more thinking or action?
I'd encourage everyone listening to think about how they can use their own unique skills and talents, not only to reach their own financial goals, but also to contribute to the well-being of the LGBT community. It could be through mentorship, volunteering, entrepreneurship, or even just sharing their financial knowledge with others.
What a great challenge. It's about recognizing that we all have something to contribute, and that by empowering each other, we can create a ripple effect of positive change. I love that idea of turning financial resilience into a force for good within the community. It's like that saying, right? A rising tide lifts all boats. When we help each other succeed, we all benefit and build a stronger community.
Definitely. And it's important to remember that financial resilience is like an ongoing process. It's not like you reach a certain point and you're done. There are always going to be ups and downs, challenges and wins. The key is to stay informed, stay connected, and never give up on what you want to achieve.
That's such a good point.
Yeah.
It's about embracing the journey, right? Learning as we go and being there for each other. I feel like we've only just started to explore this topic, but I really hope our deep dive has given you some good insights and some inspiration to keep going.
Yeah, I agree. And if there's one thing I hope people take away from all of this, it's that financial well-being is possible for everyone in the LGBT community by recognizing the challenges we face, using our collective strength, and taking action. we can build a better, more financially secure future for ourselves and for future generations.
That's a wonderful way to put it. It's been so great talking about this with you. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and insights with us.
The pleasure was all mine. Thank you for having me.
And everyone listening, thanks for joining us on the deep dive. We hope you found this conversation helpful and empowering. Remember, you're not alone in this. There's a whole community here to support you, encourage you, and celebrate your wins. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep striving for that financial resilience.